Awolowo, in a speech he delivered in London on the 3rd of November 1961, said, and I quote, if rapid political progress were to be made in Nigeria, it is high time we're realistic in tackling its constitutional problems. Hmm. The problem of Nigeria to some people is bad governance, and while others is the flexibility of the constitution that gives room for certain acts that is regarded as immorality in a typical black African community. Some of the questions being asked are, where could the problem be traced? Who is the problem? What are the problems? And what are the solutions to these problems? All these questions will be critically and analytically trashed out on the show today, Nigerian's Dream. And we have a guest in the studio with us who would shed more light on some of these questions and what new Nigeria entails and its expectations. A beautiful welcome to the maiden edition of Nigerian's Dream on your favorite station, Junior Shun TV. I am Dorcas Chidi. Quickly, we'll go on a break and we'll be right back. On the 8th of October 2020, the EndSARS protest started officially in Nigeria, and on the 9th, the hashtag trended on social media globally. The EndSARS protest, which is one of the most powerful youth protests held in the history of Nigeria against police brutality. The slogan of the protest, which called for the disbandment of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, also known as SARS. The government, which heard the cry of the agitated youth, immediately replaced the SARS with SWAT. But that actions from the government didn't seem to solve the answers of the protesters, who changed the social movement agitation to breed a new agitation tagged New Nigeria, which has under its new governance right to life and more and many more. The new Nigeria revolution, which started under the umbrella of EndSARS, has raising a lot of questions on how exactly the new Nigeria would look like. Would it look like the European setting or the USA-like of society? But the question of where the problems of Nigeria should be traced to is what some people think would be a stumbling block to this new dream of making a new Nigeria from the youth movement. Like I said earlier, I won't be doing the talking on this show today. I have a guest to me in the studio who is a seasoned lecturer, a comrade, a political analyst, an activist. He's currently a lecturer in the Osun State University, Ikere campus, in the Department of History and International Studies. Please welcome Comrade Faguma. Thank you so much for coming to the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, can you say hello to the viewers?
Greetings to the viewers. Greetings to everyone at home.
Good to have you on the show. Without wasting much of our time, Comrade, we'll get straight to the business of today. Comrade, you've led so many struggles internationally and locally. How does it feel to stage a peaceful protest?
Well, let me firstly say that every protest by nature, is peaceful.
Okay.
Really, what we've had is the members of the ruling class, telling us what a protest should be. And against this background, more often than not, we've seen that a peaceful protest, which we consider to be the norm, always becomes destructive when members of the ruling class, invade these protests with their own machineries. Basically, protests are meant to be, peaceful by nature. But let me say that it has been inspiring also, looking at the protests that we've joined and protests that we have also instigated in the past and more recent moment. It has been inspiring to see, people, basically,
Okay.
members of the Nigerian populace, coming out there to demand for good governance.
Okay. With your knowledge in struggle and social movement to fighting for the right of humanity, do you think protest has been the answer to government inability and incapability?
Oh yes, I think people have got to demand for their basic rights, for their fundamental human rights in whatever society at whatever point in time. at which they are living in that society. And we have seen that really members of the ruling class won't do anything if people do not come to the street and demand that they take care or they recognize their basic demands. It could be political demands, it could be economic demands, it could be social cultural demands. Basically protest, is the engineering tool that pushes government to the extreme. Whenever we have government or members of the ruling class that are not willing to listen to the will of the people. So yeah, be it in the past times, protests have always, been a well-equipped instrument to push government to the extreme for them to recognize the basic human rights of the people.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. On the 8th of October 2020, the EndSARS started officially in Nigeria. I'm sure you're aware about that.
Very much.
Okay. So, what exactly are the agitations of these protests?
Well, there is an immediate and also a remote background to the protests.
Okay.
Firstly, what we found out was that sometimes in October, I think the first week in October, a particular man was actually killed in Delta State.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the man was killed by SARS operatives, in the most, vicious manner, in the most despicable manner. After this incident, spontaneous protest demonstrations, sprang up across the country. In Port Harcourt, in Lagos, in Ibadan, the protests basically sprang up in reactions to the killing of that particular individual. But we must also recognize the fact that SARS has had a long history of brutality. We are talking about a police unit that was set up by members of the ruling class to really control the people. We are talking about a police unit that has a long history of extrajudicial killings. We are talking about a police unit that has involved itself in several illegal, arrests, murders, and what have you. Young persons have, on several occasions, have been harassed, have been embarrassed on the streets of this country. So I'm saying that the police units have had a long history of brutality, and that's why people stood up, following the incident that led to the unfortunate attack of that young man in Delta State, to say that, they've had it, enough is enough. And across the country, as we saw, youth rose in their number, to say that these police units must be banned. This brutality must come to an end. But it is also important for us to recognize that the EndSARS movement or the EndSARS, protest is also, an effect of the backward economic policies that the government of this country, has been operating under since it came into power in 2015.
Comrade, if I get you correctly, so you said that the police are the cause of these of these killings that have been happening in the country.
Absolutely. I think on the surface of it, it is.
The police.
But, like I said earlier on, it also has, a product of the backwardness of the economic policies that this government has been operating under.
Okay.
Let us don't forget that before October, this government had increased, electricity tariff.
Yeah.
This government had increased, fuel price, VAT rate, and what have you. This, indices were basically what spur, the mass of the people into action, come October. And it is also important for us to point out that consequent to this, illegal increments, the Nigerian Labour Congress came out that they were going to embark on a nationwide protest, but and also strike. But we know that eventually, the bureaucracy that has always been the face of the NLC prevented, the leadership of NLC to eventually go on the nationwide protest and also strike that they have promised the Nigerian people. So against this background, the youth felt that, their own fate can be decided on the streets, without the leadership of the NLC and what have you. So there is the place of, yes, police brutality and what have you, but there is also, an economic, basis for the EndSARS movement.
Okay. Wow. It's becoming really exciting here in the studio with our guest, Comrade Fagunwa. I'm sure our viewers are also following and learning how this problem, how these questions are being tackled. Okay, so shortly we will see the reaction of some hopeful Nigerians on what they've been dreaming about on the new Nigeria and how visible it is.
So what do you expect from the new Nigeria?
New Nigeria, I expect a nation where the human rights can actually be upheld, where everyone can actually be successful without having to know anyone, like in any sector of like population, where people don't have to gain admission because they know people, or I don't have to secure a job because I know I'm someone, and where people won't have to hate me because I'm a Christian or a Muslim, where we all can live in peace.
Okay, thank you. What do you expect from the new Nigeria?
Okay, the new Nigeria expect a good educational system, a regular power supply in the new Nigerians home. If our government can do such for us, we're very, very happy.
Thank you. What do you expect from the new Nigeria?
Well, my expectation about the new Nigeria is to have a sane society. A society where the mighty will not oppress the low, and where the low will not feel inferior of any other person else. So a society where everybody will live in peace and not in fear. That is my expectation of the new Nigeria.
What I actually expect is a Nigerian that won't segregate or discriminate when it comes to religion and tribe. So that's what I expect from the Nigerian.
Welcome back. We can see Nigerians with dreams in their innocent minds and their expectations, ready to eat the fruits they have labored for. We still have our guest in the studio, Comrade Fagunwa. Comrade, when this hope is shattered, what do you think is the problem of the current Nigeria, and what solution would you have provided for these problems?
Thank you very much. I think the entirety of our problems in this country, or let me say the challenge of the Nigerian state at this time, can be summed up in just one word: system. It's about systematic failure. You can understand the systematic failure within the context of the political system upon which we are operating under. You can understand it within the context of the economic system which we are operating under also. But ultimately, it's about the economic system upon which the foundation of this country was built on way back as far back as 1914, when the country was structurally founded by the colonialists. The economic system upon which we have been operating under since 1914, or following the arrival of the colonialists, has been driven by capitalist tendencies. Capitalist tendencies within the context that only fewer people would enjoy the vast resources of the country. And we would see that when this country gained a flag independence in 1960, members of the political class did not make any effort whatsoever, to change the system. The existing system remains, the capitalist, economic system, which is responsible for why we have, fewer, rich elites in this same country, and we have an army of poor people. I mean, it explains why Amnesty International recently said that Nigeria in the coming period could probably be the home for the most populous poor people in the whole world.
Okay.
So it's about the system. It's about the economic system. So for us to be able to achieve the expectations that we intend to, or we are aspiring towards, we must necessarily change the economic system we are operating right now.
Okay. You said something earlier, Comrade, about the colonialists.
Mm.
So that means that the SARS, or should I put it in the context now, which is known as SARS?
Yeah.
That means it started way back in the colonial days of
Absolutely. Police brutality
has been right from
from
the colonial masters.
Yeah, where we call them colonial criminals. Because you must understand that the police institution itself, as we understand it today, is the making of the colonialists. And that is why in this country in 1949, we had the Iva Valley massacre.
Okay.
Yeah, where miners were massacred in their numbers in present-day Enugu State. What were these miners, what were they demanding for? They were demanding for, welfareism, basic, welfareist treatment. But the colonial, officer that was in charge of that mine, ordered people that looked like us actually, to shoot, to gun down these persons. And we must also take our mind back to the Aba women revolt. We lost close to about 50 women in that particular revolt. Who were those that attacked, these women? Also, people that looked like us, that were recruited by the colonialists and they were given the badge of what? The police. So I'm saying that looking at the history, the making, the foundation, the, antecedents of the institution itself, the institution was built upon brutality. The institution was built to secure, to protect the interests of members of the ruling class. And that is why when the police comes, when the army comes, they are basically interested in the interests of the governor, the interests of the president, the interests of whatever, before they can even think about the interests of the common people. So we must understand that they do not represent the interests of the common men, the common women, but they represent the interests of those in higher places, because those in higher places are those that, founded them in the first instance.
We are taught the EndSARS protest would lead to a revolution that would usher the Nigerians into a better place. Comrade, what suddenly happened to this protest? Why did the protesters quickly recover?
Well, I don't think the protest has ended. Just like the Nigerian elites are telling us that there's a second wave of COVID-19. I think we should be expecting a second wave of EndSARS protests.
Really?
Well, yeah, because this government is here to learn, from the occurrences of October 20th. From the occurrences of October, basically, that, nosedived into the October 20th situation. I think that the Nigerian masses, the youth generally, are still, going about the activities that they went about, say, during October, they are still talking about demobilizing, to demand for their government to be responsible, to their political and economic rights. So I don't think that the protest has ended. I think we should be expecting a second wave of the EndSARS protest.
A powerful protest that happened in Nigeria, but we have participants from only the eastern and the western part of the country. So, comrade, do you think we have two Nigerians? What happened to the powerful northerners protesters?
Actually, I don't think it is true. To a larger extent, that we didn't have protesters also in the northern part of the country. Their numbers might be insignificant, compared to what we had, in the south. And but we must also understand that there's a genesis to this, fact, in the sense that the northern elites, which are considered to be one of the most terrible and backward elites in the whole of the African continent, has successfully, clamped down on the basic rights of our people over there. So much so that in the northern part of this country today, you can't go on the streets with a bottle of beer. You might be arrested, you might be jailed for the rest of your life. And so I'm saying that there's a terrible situation in that part of the country which we must recognize and which we must address. That might be responsible for we not having, large numbers of protesters as we had in this part of the world. But that cannot be interpreted to say that we don't have people that are genuinely disenchanted, with the Nigerian state, or they are interested in bringing about an end. So I don't think our people in the northern part of the country are not disenchanted with the Nigerian state. Of course they are.
Okay.
But the northern elites have artfully, mastered the art of, quelling the hunger of our people in that part of the country.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, comrade. I think I've asked me to quickly see the kind of new Nigeria that they hope and they dream for. We'll show you a short clip. Take a look. We'll be right back. beautiful enough if we can see this in reality. Comrade, do you think what you're seeing now is achievable in the nearest future?
Absolutely. Let us don't forget that I mean, African people, we gave the world not just its first humanity, we gave the world its first civilization.
Okay.
So what that means is that we have the capacity. In fact, we have the necessary prerequisites to be able to build a better society. We have all what it takes. Look at this country, for instance. We have the vast natural and also human resources to build a better society for ourselves. In fact, the best of any society you can get in the 21st century. But what has been the problem is the existence of an insignificant number of persons, who are making the vast resources of this country. Those that have held us down, those that are still holding us to ransom on the basis of their own greed. So I'm saying that we have all what it takes, to better the lot of our people. And that is why when you look at what is happening in the outer world, whenever our people have the opportunity of going out there, we can all attest, to the greatness at which they bring to those society. So I'm saying that we have all what it takes, But what we must do is that we must come together. We must jettison any ethnic sentiment, any religious sentiment, any sociocultural sentiment, and come together, in our numbers, and face this kind of minority, that are making the resources of the land.
Okay. Okay. So on the 3rd of December, the second wave of the protest has started forming. What do you think triggered that? And with many accounts of these of those that financed the first protest by freezing their accounts that by the CBN, should it be that this is the second wave, that's the freezing of some people's accounts, those that took part in the protest by freezing their accounts? Should it be that this is another wave of this protest?
Don't forget, I said earlier on that this government is yet to learn any lesson whatsoever from the last, demonstration. So the government, the regime, the Buhari government is erroneously, spurring another, protest in the coming period, because you don't, undermine people's genuine demands for change. You don't. What you have to do is to listen to the people, listen to their genuine demands and, act on it, give up implementations, executions when necessary. But because this government is a somewhat deaf government, a government that is not interested in listening to the people, a government that do not even consider us human in the first instance, so this government erroneously, or let me say unknowingly, is spurring another protest by clamping down on those that were involved in the EndSARS protest, come October. And look at it. The government is even yet to constitute, a people's panel to look into the killings that happened, at Lekki Toll Gate. So this is a government that do not really care. And because of this...
Sorry, I might have to cut you there. So now, the government said that there was no killing at the Lekki Toll Gate. So now you're saying that there was a killing. So that means there was actually a killing at the Lekki Toll Gate.
Absolutely. And the people know this. The government knows this. But they are playing all around, trying to tell us that there were no cases of killings and what have you. But we know the truth. And because of this, we are not propagating their lies in any way. Because they must be, held accountable for what they did at Lekki Toll Gate in October 20th. I think one of the things that we must also demand is that this government must necessarily ensure that a people's panel is being constituted. A panel that will look into the killings, a panel that will ensure that people have access to fair hearing. Because we have, cops littering most of the, hospitals. Even at this time, cops that are yet to be asked of by their families.
Okay. So finally, Apart from what apart from what is expected from the government in responding to the people's demand, that are also expected from the masses, both home and abroad, to do. Please speak to all Nigerians about it right now. That is what is expected of the masses, both home and abroad.
I think Nigerian people must, at this time, be more interested in their future because we currently have a government that is not interested in our future. We have a government that has failed to guarantee us security. We have a government that has failed to guarantee us, accessible educational facilities.
Okay.
So against this background, the Nigerian people must rise up. As I said earlier on, they must look beyond ethnic, religious, sociocultural sentiments and come together, and as one and demand that they have right to better and good governance. Against that background, they have the right to say that this government has got to go if this government is not willing to, make humanly possible changes.
Wow, this has been one of the most beautiful afternoons I've had. Thank you so much for coming to the studio, Comrade Faguma. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. A Nigeria with desire and the current Nigeria we are in can only get better when both parties understand their responsibilities perfectly. The change, the change to bring Nigeria into its reality starts from us, and most especially those in power. This is what we've got for you on the maiden edition of Nigerian's Dream. I believe we've been able to spice it up and answer some of these questions that you've had difficulties in answering or you've thought of, and then I believe we'll be able to tackle some of all these questions. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Union Shin TV, to get a recap and more editions of this show. You can also follow us on Twitter at Nigerian's Dream to get more tweets and little video clips. Special thanks to my executive producer, Mr. Oluwale Adefemi, my producer, Idowu Benga, and the director, Azan Olashile, and other crew members. My name is Chidi Dorcas. Thank you for joining us today. Do have a great day.